everyone. Aliza Ross here. I'm the Director of Alumni and Alumni Relations at Notre Dame of Maryland University. I'm excited to introduce to you a colleague. This is Sean Coyne. Please welcome Dr. Coyne today. And Sean, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So my name's Sean Coyne, and I am an assistant professor in the psychology department. I just completed my third year here at Notre Dame of Maryland University, and it's been an exciting time so far for me.
Awesome. Well, glad to have you. And I'm wondering, you've got some really incredible research background. Can you share with me a little bit about what that entails?
Absolutely. So I have always been interested in animals ever since I was young. The first toy set I can remember loving was my Play Zoo set, and I would set up all the exhibits and arrange which animals were allowed to be with whom. And so I just knew I had a lifelong passion for animals. And so my undergraduate degree is a BS in animal behavior, where I actually got the chance to work in a non-human primate lab. So I worked with capuchin monkeys and baboons, studying social behavior, conflict dynamics, and cognitive abilities under social situations. And from there, I really, I found my passion for studying non-human primates. So I then did a master's and a PhD at the University of Chicago, where I went from working with animals in captivity to working with primates in the wild. So I actually spent about 3 years studying rhesus macaques on Cayo Santiago, which is a field station in Puerto Rico. And I worked in a group of about 300 semi-free ranging rhesus macaques studying infant development. So we took a cohort of babies from the day they were born and studied them through about 4 years of age, so through sexual maturity. And we looked at factors like maternal attachment, maternal neglect and abuse, and how early life stress affects a wide variety of outcomes, including cognitive behavior, social behavior, stress reactivity, and sexual maturation. Yeah.
Cool. Have you always had pets yourself?
Yes. Yeah. So growing up, it was cats. We always had a couple of cats. I always wanted a dog, but I wasn't able to get one until I moved out into my own apartment.
Yeah. And you mentioned stress. How do you find that your own pets, how do they manage stress?
Yeah, so I have my dog Lucky. He's actually a rescue from Puerto Rico, where I did my field work. And so he does pretty well. He actually has a bit of separation anxiety when we're not around. So he's been doing very well during sort of the lockdown and the social distancing, because me and my partner have been around a lot more often than normal. So he's doing great, although, sometimes he does want his breaks too. He's used to getting his own nap time, and we're kind of cramping his style every so often as well.
Do you see Lucky kind of go off in a corner or go in another room by himself to get some alone time?
Unfortunately for him and for us, we're in a one-bedroom apartment, so there's not a ton of room for any of us to really get a ton of space. But sometimes he will. He'll kind of go off onto his part of the carpet or couch and, not have to be right up against us all the time, which is not what he used to do, when we were out working for 8 or 10 hours, and he wanted to get as much of us as he could.
Right. Do you think that this time, when we're all kind of distanced from each other physically, will bode helpful for Lucky coming up? Because if he's going to be kind of, taking that time to himself, do you think he'll have an easier time once you and your partner leave the house?
So honestly, no, and I think this is a consideration for all of us. Animals, and particularly domestic animals and pets, they are very into routine. They're very good at being on what are called circadian rhythms. So all animals, including humans, have like a daily cycle about certain things: when we eat, when we wake up, when we get tired. And animals are very attuned to that, and they can find it very stressful, sort of having any interruptions to that. So people may have noticed that their pets, when this all first went down, and they were like, why are people around all the time? Now that it's been about 6 weeks, pets have settled into whatever the new normal is in your household. But something that we definitely need to consider for all of our pets is sort of readying them again once cities and states start reopening and relaxing the guidelines, and they might have to be on their own again. That's something you really should start preparing your pets to be used to. So, if you're taking them on 3 or 4 walks a day, and they're not going to be getting that once you go back to work. We really need to start preparing our pets to be able to handle the new schedule. So gradual is always better than a sudden change.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other tips we might think of for all the pet parents out there? Besides not taking like you said, 3 or 4 walks a day. I feel like mine are more like 6 or 7 walks a day. But any tips for how to actually gradually step down from that, and also what to do with regard to food? You think that like for you, is Lucky eating more nowadays or more often?
So the food we regulate, what we call his food, his dog food is he gets his half a cup in the morning. Although he's a bit of a social eater, so he tends not to eat until we're eating. Like he just grabbed some right now, actually, because I'm sitting at the desk. But he has been getting a lot more treats and people food, which, we don't always do. But since we're home eating lunch, we'll give him a little bit of, turkey meat or whatever sandwich meat we're doing. And again, that's something we're going to have to transition our pets off of, because we're going to be, wildly altering their feeding schedule. So if you've been giving a lot more treats or people food, that's something, again, you should slowly try to wean them away from as you prepare to enter back into the world whenever we're allowed to do that.
Right. I want to get back to that stress for just a second. How are
Absolutely.
you seeing Lucky deal with stress? What are some signals for you that knowing that like he's having a rough time?
Yeah, he'll honestly, he's pretty easygoing in terms of animals. Among all the pets I've had, he's definitely the most even-tempered. But sometimes he really will just kind of plop and like just plop out on the carpet somewhere and be done. Like he's done playing, he's done cuddling, he just kind of is like over it. And it's not too concerning, because it's not it's not like he'll do that for days on end. But we can tell, okay, you know what, he needs to be left alone. He doesn't want to cuddle right now, or he doesn't want to play right now. So we pick up on his signals. If he's just sitting there, not being next to us, we know that he's done.
Right.
Yeah.
What kinds of similarities can you draw from those responses to stress that relate well to human responses to stress?
Yeah, right. And that's the goal in my research, because, as much as we want to know about animals, oh, excuse me, I just knocked my computer there.
Oh, you're fine. All good.
Okay. Yeah. So the goal of my research, right, is to not only study animals so we can better understand them, but also so how can we better inform human health and behavior as well. And so how animals react, our stress reaction system, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, is similar in all mammals. So whether you're a rat, a monkey, a dog, or a human, right, we all sort of have the same hormones circulating around during times of stress. And so anything that's good for us is really also good for them. So much like we've been telling people to manage their own stress by, getting out in nature, taking walks, having a routine, the same holds true for our animals as well, and our pets. And so the flip side of that too is if you really do start to see sort of concerning, massive changes in behavior, big changes in appetite, or massive, long, prolonged changes in behavior, that is also can be a warning sign that your pet may be undergoing some severe stress. Now, of course, we're all going to have, bad days or an off hour where we're a little more tired or things like that. But if you sort of see these prolonged changes in appetite or behavior, that can be a warning sign.
Sure. And when you say prolonged, like for someone who's thinking, I'm wondering when I should take my pet to a veterinarian, what's a good gauge for them?
So that I have to say, because I'm not a vet, I can't really speak to that. So that's a conversation you would want to call up your vet and sort of get their medical advice on. But I would suggest calling ahead of time, because vets are really good at saying, no, this doesn't sound like, or yeah, you might want to bring them in. But certainly, less than a day, I wouldn't be concerned yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I wonder if I can pivot just a little bit.
Absolutely.
Since you're a professor at Notre Dame and you've been working with Notre Dame students for quite some time right now, how have you been doing this semester? Today, I think this is actually the last academic day. This is the last day of classes. Is that right?
Today's reading day.
Yay. Okay.
Yes.
Today's reading day. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, congratulations. You made it to the end.
Yes.
How are you and your students coping right now?
It's been interesting, because I've been teaching 3 classes this semester. So I have a 101, so very, entry level, and then I have a 200 and an upper level class. So I have sort of all range of students from just getting started to graduating seniors, you know? So it's been interesting to sort of, the dynamics in all of my classes have been very different. And it's been a challenge for sure, but I'd say the students have really risen to it. And you know, yesterday I had, you know, my last day of lecture for some of them, and I really did take time to thank them for their perseverance and being patient with me, because as much of a learning experience as this has been for them, certainly for the faculty it has been as well. You know, having to learn how to deliver the same content but in a completely new format was an interesting challenge for me. And I've definitely found some things that I like better, and that, you know, if and when we return to face-to-face, I think I'm still going to incorporate some of this. But yeah, I have to say my favorite has been, I have an 8 a.m. class on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so, you know, I still try to get up, shower, put on my, you know, button downs. And, but I have to say my students are, you know, they're definitely just rolling over and opening that laptop right in their bed at 8 a.m. So it's been sort of an interesting look into all of our lives. But I've known these, that's my upper level class. So I've known these students for, some of them for 3 years now, you know, so
Yeah.
it's, you know, we all have a fun, interesting dynamic, and, you know, we can sort of tease about the bedhead and sort of the waking the, you know, rubbing the sleep out of their eyes as I ask them to do fairly complex math or very early in the morning.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how your seniors are feeling.
Yeah, that's been, you know, it's been a little sad because, you know, I'm a fairly emotional person. And so having to do a lot of these sort of goodbyes and celebrations via distance has been a little difficult for us. But, you know, they've been trooping through, still showing up till the very end. You know, they haven't checked out. They've been active. You know, we just had a Psych Club event yesterday led by some seniors, you know, so they're still there. They're still very much in the Notre Dame spirit of being leaders and taking charge during these difficult times. And I couldn't be more proud of them.
That's excellent. What advice would you have for your graduating seniors that you might offer to all of us as well?
Yeah, just, you know, be flexible. You know, we don't know what's coming and when it's coming. And so putting all the skills that, you know, you've learned over the past 4 years, be open-minded. You know, you may have thought, hey, this is where my path is going. And a lot of, you know, some paths have been closed and a lot of new paths have been opened. So just be flexible, be open-minded with where you're willing to go, and look for resources. There are a ton of different resources and different sort of streams opening up. I was just on a webinar earlier today in the American Psychological Association talking about all these new research opportunities. You know, we need to understand not just the virus from the viral standpoint, but we need to understand the human aspect of this, the social aspect of this. So there is a ton of new research and revenue streams being opened up to understand how is this impacting us as a society, how we interact with one another, how anxiety, we're going to see, you know, massive rise in anxiety over the uncertainty of this virus. And so there are sort of, as you know, as troubling as this can be, there are a lot of opportunities still that one can make in research in other areas.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd like to pivot one more time, actually, to tie in some themes that you've articulated for through stress, through student relationships, anxiety, and pets. There are a lot of folks who are adopting pets now and who have decided to become foster parents for pets.
Absolutely.
What do you think about that, and how do you see that going in the future?
I think that's great. You know, from the animal standpoint, this is a wonderful opportunity. A lot of times pets seem unadoptable because they're not really that well socialized, right? They may have come from sort of a difficult, either from the street or from an abusive home. And so maybe while we're all home, you know, you can really help socialize and train a pet that can then become adoptable. Maybe as you return to work, you can't keep that animal, but you've helped potty train it while you're working from home, right? Or you've made it get ready and used to being on a leash, or just being around other people. And all of these things are very doable and very simple while you're working from home. And it sort of helps you sort of keep on a schedule too, right? So it can help the human, not just the animal. And even if you can't be a forever home, you can really help make a lot more animals adoptable sort of once this is all passed. And that's, I think, a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah. Something that we didn't touch on was therapy and the benefits that humans and animals derive from each other. And I think there's a lot written about how pets can be very therapeutic for us. They're
Yeah.
emotional support animals for sure. They're therapy dogs, therapy animals for sure. Can you share a little bit about what kinds of therapy animals receive from us?
Yeah, so I mean, we know that just like when animals can have a sort of hormonal effect on us, we too sort of that social bond. So there is the hormone oxytocin, right, which is sometimes so called the love hormone, but really it's an emotional bonding hormone. And so we know that it gets released in animals in response to bonding with their owners, just as owners have a release of oxytocin with bonding with their pets. So both of us have sort of this mutually beneficial relationship with neurotransmitters and hormones that can sort of boost mood and sort of well-being for both humans and animals.
Fantastic. Well, I really want to thank you for bonding with me for a little bit today, Sean.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Thank you. And for those of you watching at home, feel free to write in any questions or comments that you have for Dr. Coyne, and we are happy to coordinate answers and share those answers with you. So for now, we will sign off. We are looking forward to following your journey and see what other exciting research you undertake with students in the next year and those coming. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me today.
My pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.